who you are is what you continually do, right? What you continually do defines who you are, right? And that means not just when people are watching you, but also when people are not watching you. Just yesterday, I had to have a conversation with our daughter because the boys were mad at her. So they're fighting and they're arguing. They come in after being outside, and mind you, it was super hot outside, but they were in the woods because there's like an empty lot next to our house. They were in the woods, they were playing around, and the boys came in livid. They were upset. Why were they upset? They were upset because she made a power bump promise with them. And then she went back on her promise. Now, this was a very important lesson. I wanted to hear them out, but more than that, I wanted to sit down with her and talk about the importance of keeping your promise. And so, I heard them out. The boys were upset and they were like, well, she this and she that. But more importantly, she made a promise. She told us that we were going to play this specific game. But then when it came down to it, after we did what she wanted to do, she didn't want to play the game anymore. But she made a promise and they were very mad. So I hear them out and I'm like, okay, great. Send one to do one thing, send the other one to do the other thing that they wanted to do. But, just shift in the mind so that they get out of that fight or flight kind of mentality. And then I sit down with her and I ask her, hey, so what happened? And, she, with a very sheepish voice, she tells me, well, I didn't want to play the game anymore. I said, did you promise you were going to play the game with them? She said, yeah, I did, but I didn't feel like playing it with them after we had done what we did, after the activity, the previous activity. And I said, but don't you think that that's hurtful to them, that their feelings might get hurt because they feel that you made a promise to them, which was important to them. They accommodated you with what you wanted to do. Would you be hurt if they didn't keep their promise to you? And she said, yeah, I'd be hurt. I said, we have to be people that do what we say we're going to do. We have to be people that keep our promises. And, I'll admit, that was a challenge for me as well. Because as I think about my life, right, I've been late to things. I have not shown up at times when I'm supposed to show up, or I've canceled plans and done things that I wasn't supposed to do. There have been times in my life where I haven't kept promises. And there has to have been a journey of growth for me. There has to have been a journey of, first of all, identifying that I have an issue and then taking steps to address that issue. In fact, I heard one time a speaker say, think about the unbelievably stupid things that you're doing right now that are harming you, that are preventing you from achieving your goals or achieving what you really want to achieve. Ask yourself the question, and then with the sincere desire to find an answer, and then wait to see what comes up. And I've done that a few times in my life because I want to cultivate a behavior and an atmosphere within my home of self-improvement, right? I want my kids to know that I'm constantly trying to update myself so that I'm a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. And I tell them 1% better every day, right? You're not going to make radical changes from one day to the other, but you do want to be a better version of yourself, a more elite version of yourself the next day than you were the day before. And so I've done this more than one time where I just sit down and I think, well, what am I doing today that is harming me or preventing me from doing what I actually want to do in the long run, achieving those goals, right? And the things that have come up have amazed me. At first it was easy, where it was just like, stop lying, or, exaggerating the truth, or stop pretending like, you care about something when you really don't. But recently it's been things like, you need to reconcile with your father. You need to forgive your father for the things that he's done. And that's been very difficult because I didn't even know where to begin to do that. Like, how do you begin to have that conversation with a man that's not even willing to admit he did anything wrong? But it has to end somewhere. It has to stop somewhere. And why not with you? Why not you be the change that you need to see in your family line, right? The cycle breakers, as people call them, the chain breakers and all that stuff. Why does it have to continue on to the next generation? And so as I thought about that, I thought, man, it's very difficult. And I'll admit, I'm still walking through that, of working with setting a date with my father to meet with him every single week, setting some time aside to have genuine conversation with him. It's been very challenging, but I do it now purposely because I want to be the one to break this issue along my family line. And I want my kids to know that you admit when you do wrong, and you also look for reconciliation with people in your life, especially people like your father, because I want them to come to me and reconcile with me if later on in the future it turns out that I did some things that really bothered them or really hurt them, more importantly, right? I want them to reconcile with me. So, look to improve yourself. That's my example. What's yours? Like, what are some things within yourself that need to be reconciled or improved? We should always be striving and seeking to become better versions of ourselves. And this is the lesson that I'm trying to teach my daughter, and, telling her, look, this is what you need to do. I'm doing it myself. I'm trying to be a better version of myself. And you have to decide, are you the kind of person that breaks your promises? Is that who you want to be? Or do you want to be the kind of person that keeps their promises? Because the kind of people that keep their promises are the kind of people that people trust. If you are the kind of person that breaks your promises, then you're going to be the kind of person that people don't trust. So which one do you want? What kind of outcome do you want? So the Bible tells us this in the book of Psalms: creating me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. The psalmist there is really asking God, seeking for God to elevate him from the inside out. See, often we ask God for external changes, but he's asking God to bring him up from the inside out. There are things in our lives that need to be elevated. So take some time, ask yourself, pray, and ask God to show you what those things are. Show me what those things are, so that A, I can deal with them with your spirit, right? With God's support. That's how we deal with them, right? But also B, so that I can help my family and my community around me. See, men who address those things and are constantly looking to improve and lift up their community and their family are men who build a legacy. All right. So let's break out into groups. Let's discuss this now. We're going to have some questions. Make sure to look through each and every one of them, and make sure today to live a life of a man that will leave a legacy.